Passion, talent, development. NCAA hockey offers all that, and its players graduate at a 93% rate. Trevor Zegras.
And they score on the lacrosse move!
Jake Gensel.
Gensel banks it towards the goal. He scores!
Cale Makar.
Cale Makar, he scores!
Stars on campus before the NHL stage. Whether you're a fan or a player, nothing compares to college hockey.
My goodness gracious me!
Visit collegehockeyinc.com and follow at College Hockey.
Welcome to College Hockey Today. I'm Jayson Hajdu with College Hockey Inc., joined as always by Grand Forks Herald reporter Brad Schlossman. Schloss, we sat here 1 week ago talking about our expectation that this would be an incredible season in college hockey. You referenced Frank Serratori's comments, prepping everyone for a season like no other. And immediately on Thursday, college hockey was on one.
Yeah, the three of the top four teams lose. And I don't think it's a complete shock, because that is what some of the coaches had referenced, that with this larger player pool, we are going to have a little bit more parity. We're going to see these types of things more often than we did. We've already started to see this in the last few years, I feel. But I think we're really going to see things like this season. So, you had New Hampshire winning a late game at Michigan State. Ferris State going into Lawson, which is a really difficult place to play. You know that I can't believe I didn't look this up now. It just popped in my head as we're talking. Western had an insane record at Lawson last year, and I'm trying to remember if they lost in regulation at Lawson. I'm going to pull that up as we speak, but that's a pretty notable victory for Ferris State to go there and win that game. And as I scroll through, I see that's the first time they had lost in regulation at Lawson in 2 years. So
the one coach while we were at the Icebreaker who just flat out said, there's going to be a lot of this. Get ready for it.
There is. I really think that. It looks like January 19th, 2014. Minnesota Duluth was the last time that Western had lost in regulation at home. I'm going to tweet that out after we're done recording. That's a great stat. Yes, but no, it's a bigger picture. I do think we're going to see some of these, which means I really hope the NCAA amends their graphic where they say upset all the time. Like some of these aren't upsets.
No, they're not. And so 1, 2, and 4 all lose at home to unranked opponents. That started the week. We had incredible goaltending. We had first wins for new head coaches. Before we get into our rundown, I guess, what did we learn? This is our new segment on this show. What did we learn this weekend in college hockey?
My big takeaway, one of them, was that the young guys can play. In college hockey this year, there are 5 players who are still 17 years old, which I don't remember that many 17-year-olds coming to college hockey in 1 year. And so far, the number one, the youngest player in the country, is Ilya Morozov at Miami. He just turned 17 in August. Yeah, he's got 7 points in 4 games. He had back-to-back 3-point games. I watched Morozov last year a bit in the USHL. He played for Tri-City. I thought he was going to have a tough transition to college because how young he was. He wasn't dominant in the USHL. He's a big body. You saw what the package could be, but I did not expect this out of him. The second youngest player, Keaton Verhoff, scored his first career goal this weekend for North Dakota on an absolute rocket of a shot. He's probably going to be a high draft pick next year. He has 2 points in 2 games to start the season. The third youngest player, Adam Valentini at Michigan, 3 points in 4 games for Valentini on a team that's scoring quite a bit. But that was a nice start for Adam Valentini. The fourth youngest player, a kid named Gavin McKenna. We've talked at length about him and his, what does he have, 5 points in 4 games or something to start the year. And then the fifth youngest is Lincoln Keene, a defenseman at Arizona State. His minutes haven't been super high, but the other four, I think it's eye-opening at 17 that these guys are having success at the college level. I do not think that means everybody should go to college at 17. I think you got to be very careful because it is a difficult jump, but hey, these guys, great way to start their college careers. I think that's fascinating. And all five of the guys, Landon Nyes is the sixth guy. He just turned 18. He's a defenseman at UMass. Those six guys are all eligible for the draft this year. Wherever those teams play, you're going to see a lot of NHL scouts watching those six guys.
The next measure will be whether that production can sustain itself as conference play begins. As we know, the intensity ramps up, the competitiveness ramps up. The early returns are incredible so far.
And the grind wrap, you can do it with some. We see it sometimes with guys who make their NHL debut. They come out and score a goal, then they get into the grind of the season, and it's a little bit different. And that's
the
going to be
adrenaline wears off.
Yeah, and things are going to get harder, as you said. So, but great start for those guys.
For sure. Let's whip around the country here, starting with the independents. Alaska went 1-1 at the Icebreaker. They started the weekend, the afternoon game on Friday, with a 2-1 win over Quinnipiac, and it was full value for the win. They didn't goalie Quinnipiac necessarily. They just played they played what you'd expect Alaska to play, a tight, physical, earn your space type of game. They did lose to Arizona State in the championship game, but a nice start for Alaska, or a nice weekend, I should say. And then a couple of head coaching first wins. Keith Fisher at Lindenwood, they get a road sweep at Lake State, and LIU's Brendan Riley, he gets his first win at Canisius, 6-1 against a really good Canisius team, which did come back with an OT win on Friday, but a split and a first win for Brendan Riley.
Well, the big question is, how amazing were those Alaska jerseys up there? Yeah, you got to see what Alaska was wearing at the Icebreaker. I thought those things are awesome.
They were sharp. Yeah. They were sharp, man. Yeah.
Alaska. So Alaska is going to be wearing jerseys throughout the history of their program this year, and a lot of them are just amazing. They better take a lot of photos this season up there because they're looking good in those jerseys. And nice win over Quinnipiac. The Bobcats have had a great start to the season, so that is a very notable win for Alaska. And Lindenwood, nice start for Lindenwood as well. Going and getting a couple wins at Lake Superior State. Giovanni Morneau, 4 goals in 4 games. He's a guy that Lindenwood got out of U Sport. U Sport transfer coming up big for Lindenwood early this season.
In Atlantic hockey, not sure where to start. There was a lot of good things for the conference this weekend. Air Force tied Denver on Friday. Carter Clafton made 58 saves, Division I program record for Air Force. I think he started both games on the weekend for Air Force. And speaking of good goaltending, Ajit Gandara, Sacred Heart, they swept RIT. That opened Atlantic play. Everything else has been non-conference so far, but that was the Atlantic opener. He merely stopped 49 of 50 shots in the series. Same old for him. Niagara with a sweep of Bowling Green. They're off to their first 3-0 start. And Army started 2-0-1 under Zach McKelvey. They did lose last night, Tuesday night, to Canisius, who's 4-1. Lots of good things happening early in Atlantic hockey.
Yeah, Air Force not only tying Denver, the next night, Air Force took a lead into the third period against Colorado College and actually outshot the Tigers 30-29. Owen Beckner comes up big for CC with a 3-point game, 2 back-to-back goals in the third period to win it. But Frank Saratori's got 5 goalies on his roster. Carter Clafton making quite the argument right away that he should be the guy out of the 5. And Frank Saratori with a great line when asked about why he has 5, and he said it's because I don't have 6. So that tells me he went into the year a little bit with some uncertainty in that. When you have 5 guys, you're hoping one of them pops, and game 1 to have that type of a goalie performance, he's got to love to see that. Niagara might be a sneaky team this year. The Purple Eagles lost some offense off of last year's team. They look pretty good this year to start out. They're deep. It might not be as top heavy as last year with some of their high end players, Trevor Hoskin, Jay Ahern, Shane Ott. Those guys really kind of drove the offense last year. This year, there might be some more depth there. Rolov's in net. He's it looks like he's going to maybe be the guy. 951 save percentage after 3 games. I believe he was on a Robertson Cup team in the North American League a couple of years ago. So great start for him.
Yeah, just 4 goals against in 3 games with a shutout mixed in there too. And then Army and Canisius also a nice matchup last night. 3-1 win for Canisius.
Yeah, Canisius is off to a great start. 4-1, a big win over wins over Clarkson and St. Lawrence to start the year. Now Canisius goes on a bit of a road trip. They're not home until November again, so the schedule is a little bit quirky. But clearly Chase Clark is poised to be a game changer, goaltender that Canisius got out of the transfer portal from American International. Obviously AIC dropped out of D1 this year, and so Chase Clark went looking for a new home. Canisius grabbed him. He's off to a phenomenal start. He's won all 4 of his starts. And yeah, he's it looks like he's poised to have a big year.
Another transfer, Walter Zocker from Robert Morris, has points in 4 of 5 and goals in 3 of 5. He's had a nice start. Grant Porter, too, piling up points early on. For Canisius, in the Big Ten, so Michigan continues its impressive start, a road sweep of Providence. They're 4-0 with a goal differential of 26-3. A lot of new pieces at Michigan. So a lot of this is still going to unfold yet. It's very early, but so far so good.
Yeah, they're sure scoring a lot of the goals. They've already scored 8 power play goals. So they've been red hot on the power play. Michael Hage, 9 points in 4 games. Will Horkoff has been very good, especially on the power play. 3 goals on the power play for him, 6 points in 4 games. They're just getting scoring from everywhere in their lineup. That's something that's definitely stood out here for Michigan. Going to Providence and winning back-to-back games is impressive, but just as impressive as all the goals that Michigan scored, only allowing 3 goals in 4 games is very good. Jack Ivankovich, who's the freshman starter, highly touted goalie. He was Canada's U18 goalie this year. Great start to college hockey for him.
Let's see. Ohio State opened its season with a sweep of Northern Michigan. Felix Caron had 4 points in his Buckeye debut. There was chaos everywhere else on night 1. We mentioned Penn State falling to Clarkson. Michigan State fell to New Hampshire with, I think, about 4 seconds left in the 3rd period. Both those teams bounced back the following night to grab the split. Minnesota a loss and a tie at home against Boston College. So a little bit of everything in the Big Ten this past weekend.
And Minnesota finally ended its streak. I think they
sort of.
Yeah, they ended it. I think.
Okay,
I know it's non-conference, but in the streak we were including non-conference shootouts in that. So it's only fair that they're mandated. They made them play it. Does it count in the MPI? No, because the value is still the same, but it officially goes in the scorebook because they were forced to play it by the NCAA. I count it. They scored 2 shootout goals. They had missed, what was it, 28? It was either
28 in a row.
28 in a row. 28. Can you imagine that over like 4 or 5 years? And think of all the players that had gone through the program in that time, and they just could not score in the shootout with all that skill. It was almost just this odd stat.
I want to say it was a span of like 1,700 days or some bonkers number like that.
Yeah, I think it was even more. Bob Motzko walked out into the post-game press conference and he was laughing. He said, okay, how many days was it? How many shots was it? He said he got calls from other coaches that they were saying, this can't be right? Like, this is wrong what I saw. He's like, no, it's right. So, it obviously didn't really affect the Gophers overall because they were still winning Big Ten titles, and those are, conference points. But hey, they were able to celebrate that shootout win. Good series against BC. But yes, the anomaly. It was, by the way, it was LJ Mooney, the freshman, who broke it. He is the cousin of Logan Cooley, and then Tanner Ludke also buried one right after him. So they didn't have to wait too long to get a second one. So one of college hockey's very quirky stats is over. Second note in that game, Gophers were leading 2-1 going into the third. Dean Letourneau, Boston College's freshman or sophomore, gets his first college goal, long awaited, first round pick of the Boston Bruins, and it was a very nice shot. So big time for Dean Letourneau's first college goal for BC.
NTDP this past weekend, exhibition game. Mike Hastings and the Badgers will host Minnesota State this weekend. That's the first meeting between Mike Hastings and the program he used to coach. So a lot of eyeballs will be on that series, no doubt.
And Wisconsin's got a few players that came over with him. The leading scorer is Christian Fitzgerald. Second leading scorer, tied for it, are Simon Tassi, who is a Minnesota State player, and Gavin Morrissey, who is committed to Minnesota State and followed Mike Hastings there. So a few guys going against their old teams. Maybe Eli Pulver gets in net. He was a transfer this offseason from Minnesota State when Alex Tracy decided to come back. I'm sure Minnesota State fans really want to get one of these against Wisconsin, but also I think they recognize what Mike Hastings did for that program and really put it on the map. And Luke Strand has done a terrific job continuing what Mike Hastings helped build up.
It's the first of 3 straight weekends at home for the Badgers, so they'll look to pile up some wins here early on. In the CCHA, tough weekend results-wise, but Ferris State did land the big one, as we alluded to earlier, knocking off Western Michigan in the Broncos season opener, the first game of their title defense. It was the Hobie Hedquist game, a player you followed the last few years.
Yeah, goaltender Hobie Hedquist played 2 years at North Dakota. You could see some good elements in this game when he was here. Like you knew he was capable of having big nights. And of course, in this one, he stops 48 shots and he had to be really good. A lot of these were great looks for Western Michigan. I think the big thing for Hedquist is adding a little bit more consistency to his game, because you saw what the peaks are going to be. We already saw it here. And if he can, continue to roll out games like that, that would be big. Ferris State gave him the night off. So they played Thursday. They traveled back to Big Rapids. They played again, and maybe they just said, hey, he just had a massive workload. We traveled after the game, gave him the night off in the series finale. But, I would fully expect to see Hobie Hedquist back in the net pretty soon. They play exhibitions this weekend, and then they go to Michigan Tech the following week, and Michigan Tech's look pretty good so far. So that'll be another big series, but great start for Hobie Hedquist at Ferris State.
Congratulations also to Brett Riley. That's his first win as head coach at Ferris State. Augustana road split at Minnesota Duluth, dropped the opener, came back with a 4-0 win on Saturday. Josh Kotai doing what he does with a 4-0 shutout win to get the split for the Vikings.
Terrific start for Josh Kotai, which is of no surprise. He was excellent last year. Minnesota Duluth, the first night, one of the big things for them is they they got a little bit of production outside that big top line. But Augustana coming back the next night, 4-0 win. It was close to the end. It was only 2-0 when Minnesota-Duluth started pulling its goalie. They added a couple empty netters in that game. But yeah, a big win for Augustana, and Minnesota-Duluth outshot Augustana pretty handily in that game. Yeah. So they really needed Josh Kotai to be great, and he was.
It's 31-9 over the last two periods, 40-16 for the game. Full marks to Josh Kotai for that shutout. Let's talk ECAC. Clarkson, as we mentioned earlier, upset Penn State 6-4. Two of Penn State's 4 goals were power play, so a nice even strength game by Clarkson. 11 players on the score sheet for Clarkson in that one. Quinnipiac with a split at the icebreaker. We talked about the loss to Alaska. They came back emphatically the next day with a win over Notre Dame. Union with a road sweep at Mercyhurst. Colgate had a loss and a tie against BU, and then St. Lawrence split a home and home with Vermont. But let's talk a little about Clarkson and Quinnipiac. A really nice early season win for Clarkson over Penn State.
Yeah, and this is a team a little bit in transition this year. Clarkson lost its entire top line. Ayrton Martino was a Hobie Baker finalist last year. Ellis Rickwood centered that line. He's at North Dakota. Ryan Richardson graduated. He's gone. Trey Taylor, top D-man, is on the Dallas Stars right now. They lost all their goalies. This is a team that's, probably going to go through some ups and downs as they figure it out. The two, one big name they brought back was Tristan Sarsland on the back end, and he is playing massive minutes early this season. In that
I think he was +4 in that game, wasn't he?
Was he really? Wow.
I believe so. Yeah.
Let me bring that up. In that win, he was +4. Wow. He also played 29-43. He played half the game. So that's a guy Clarkson is going to rely on this year. The other kind of interesting story here is Shane Soderwall has been the goalie so far. Shane Soderwall came from D3, a Division III transfer for Clarkson, and he's started all 3 games this season. But it's that was probably a little bit of a Penn State style game weekend that they played. The first night, Clarkson, credit to them, down 4-2, and they score 4 goals in a row and come back and win that game. That's pretty impressive. The next night, Clarkson goes up 2-0, and it's Penn State that comes back and scores 5 in a row and wins that game. So I think I don't expect all Clarkson games to be just I expect Penn State games to be like that a little bit, but not Clarkson. I think Clarkson's game, they'll settle down the game a little bit going forward.
I feel like that's one of those early season lessons that coaches want their players, their teams to learn, is how to stem those tides, those ebbs and flows, and to mitigate the bad and stay even during the good.
No doubt about it.
So I'm sure lesson learned. The thing about Sarsland too, logging all those minutes, is he's doing that against an opponent that plays a big time tempo and pace, and to log that kind of minutes, that's impressive stuff.
That is. And Quinnipiac, you got to see them. What were your impressions? They have a pretty thorough 7-2 win over Notre Dame. They started the season with a very impressive 4-3 win over Boston College. What did you see from them?
It's hard to draw any conclusions from that loss. It's the afternoon game. It's the icebreaker. There's not a lot of people in the building. Weird things just happen in games like that. And Alaska is a legitimately competitive team. They made them earn every inch of ice. But what struck me that game, and especially in the win over Notre Dame, is the balance they have. Up and down the lineup, they're clearly well coached. Just a good team up and down the lineup. They got the goaltending against Notre Dame. Marinov came in for that game and was really good. Nothing really jumps out at you other than the balance. They're just a good team. They're going to make a lot of noise this year.
Yeah, impressive start for Ethan Littenbach. I believe he was the captain in Sioux Falls last year. And I think he was a guy they decided kind of late to bring in. I think there was like at some, maybe I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that they were, trying to figure out, is he coming this year or not? And that's a great start for him. Calgary Flames draft pick. That he could be a big time pickup for Quinnipiac this season.
They'll host Maine next weekend, so a really challenging early season schedule. They started on the road with BC and Providence, then traveled to Arizona for the icebreaker, and now Maine. So early season tests for the Bobcats. Let's see. Let's go to Hockey East here. BU is the new number 1 in the polls, at least after a 2-0-1 start. A win and a tie against Colgate last weekend. They'll host Michigan State this weekend. Friday's game is on ESPN2, but BU, the youngest team in college hockey, according to the polls, at least right now, the number 1 team in college hockey.
Yeah. I mean, I had Western Michigan at 1 still. I'm like, okay, they've all kind of had, when Western Michigan outshoots a team that bad and loses, I just kind of chalk it up to, hey, they got hot goalied. It happens. It's still early. It sounded like Jay Pandolfo wasn't overly pleased with how he played on Saturday. They in that tie. I think Sasha Boisvert left that game with an injury, so they lost one of their key players. But it was a game that I think BU got going a little bit in the third period, but they were, Jake clearly wasn't super pleased with their weekend. Things are about to get a lot harder for BU playing Michigan State. After that, they play UConn and then they play Maine. So we're about to learn a lot about this young BU team here the next 3 series that they have, because the Michigan State games in Boston series, I should say, UConn's a home and home, and then they go up to Alphond. So this is going to be a stretch that'll challenge BU. We'll probably learn a little bit about them. And I guess Cole Iserman and Cole Hudson are lighting it up, which is about right.
Speaking of Alphond Arena, Maine also off to an impressive start. They're 2-0-1, home sweep of Holy Cross. Justin Poirier, hat trick in his college debut. The Black Bears look really good.
They do. That's a great sweep for them over a Holy Cross team that I think is going to be really good this year. A lot of guys producing for them. Alvin Boya, a strong start to his season. He was an All-American last year. If they can get some of their young guys like Poirier producing, Miguel Marcus had 2 points. He's another freshman that Maine brought in to add to a already pretty solid returning group. This team is certainly a contender to win Hockey East this year.
Let's talk about New Hampshire. We mentioned the win over Michigan State. We didn't really get into it, but Marty Lavins with the goal with 3.8 seconds left. They go and grab a split at Michigan State against a really good opponent.
Yeah, big start for New Hampshire to be able to go and get a win there, and really, the series finale. That was a really competitive. I know Michigan State outshot them, but quite a bit. But that New Hampshire played a pretty competitive game both nights. Defended pretty well. We'll see if they can keep that up throughout the year. But that's they've got to be happy with coming away with a win at Michigan State in a dramatic fashion.
New goaltender too, Kyle Chauvette, transfer from Union, started both games, 30+ saves both games. So I think what we're learning early on is the gauntlet that was Hockey East last season isn't going to be much different this season.
Yeah. And the other thing New Hampshire did in that win, it felt like whenever Michigan State scored, they had an answer for it. Like it wasn't. You were kind of wondering when the big push was going to come from Michigan State, and they just kind of stemmed it because they had answers for all of the goals.
Merrimack also defeated UMass Lowell and UMass with a win at Stonehill. UMass is 3-0 to start the season. Like I said, it's going to be another crazy year in Hockey East. Let's finish up with the NCHC. Arizona State, they bounced back from that Penn State series to open the year by winning the icebreaker. Cruz Lucius had a good weekend. He had a hat trick in the final. He was the MVP of the tournament. That's my first experience at Mullet Arena. I was very impressed. It's loud in there. The student section is fantastic. They do a great job with game offs. It's really cold. It's really cold in that rink. I'm not going to lie. I'm getting old. But Arizona State was really impressive last weekend at the icebreaker.
I didn't realize this was 4 straight years and NCHC teams won the icebreaker. Cruz Lucius is an interesting one because last year, remember, he was hurt for half the year and he came back and he wasn't quite himself when he came back. So this is a big way for him to start scoring 4 goals in the first 4 games for Arizona State. And, they got both of their goalies got a little bit of time in the net so far, Connor Hasley and Samuel Urbon. So, a nice start for the other guy that jumped off the page to me was Sean McGurn. I just didn't know a lot about him, a youth sport transfer. And it looks to me like he's going to be a pretty important player for that team.
Urbon started Friday and was really good. Notre Dame actually had 50 shots in that game. And Urbon left in the third period. No one was quite sure what was going on because he'd played so well. Turned out it was just cramping. And Connor Hasley, the Bentley transfer, relieved him. Hasley started the championship game against Alaska and was the Connor Hasley we saw at Bentley the past couple of years. So it looks like Arizona State will likely have another good tandem between the pipes this year.
Yeah, both guys have good history. Arizona State going to Augie this week should be a good series. Our first trip away from Mullet this year. So, yeah.
You covered North Dakota's home and home with St. Thomas. The Fighting Hawks get the sweep in that one. They win at home Friday. They go to the arena formerly known as the XL Energy Center Sunday. And I'm sorry, I haven't committed the new name to, is it Grand Casino?
Yeah.
Okay. And finish off the sweep. Nice start to the Dane Jackson era at North Dakota.
Yeah. Against a pretty good St. Thomas team, team ranked in the top 20, and North Dakota's, 11 goals this weekend, all 11 from different players. So they're getting production from all over. Their best line was their fourth line. That's
probably going to have to be their formula. No?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's, that will be something they have to do this year, is get production from all over, and they're going to have to win those battles on lower lines. And Cody Kroll, Cade Littler, and Josh Sekreski certainly tilted the ice this weekend when they were out there. The other big takeaway is that this isn't a shocker, but Lucas Wallen is really good. He was like, every time I watch a St. Thomas game, when things are happening, you look and you see number 3 right there. Lucas Wallen was hurt in the third period. He right off a center ice faceoff, he got like a partial breakaway and he went into the net hard and might have hit the post, and he left the game, did not return. That's going to be a really big storyline to follow because he is such an important player for St. Thomas. And I think he's one of the he's a difference maker in college hockey. Every game he plays, he's I think a guy that NHL teams will be wanting to sign at the end of the season. He's just that good. We'll see what happens there for North Dakota. The other takeaway, Gibson Homer, great weekend in net for North Dakota. That's as you said, a big couple wins to start the Dane Jackson era.
Well, we'll touch on their weekend ahead at the end of the show here. Colorado College, a couple nice wins over Bentley and Air Force, the latter of which secured the Pikes Peak Trophy. Their CC, they scored 3 times in the third to win that one 4-2. We talked about Ilya Morozov at Miami. We didn't say that they swept RPI and are 4-0 for the first time since Alec Martinez was a junior Red Hawk. Alec Martinez played almost 1,000 games in the NHL and retired this past spring. They are 4-0 since the first time he was on their blue line at Miami.
They have already surpassed their win total from last year. All of last year, Miami had 3 wins. They already eclipsed that. Great start for the Red Hawks. We knew they upgraded their talent, but now they're finding ways to win games as well. So one of those RPI games, they were trailing, had to come back. It's a good sign for Miami.
St. Cloud had a non-conference split with Bemidji State. Omaha had an out-of-conference split with Minnesota State. Denver followed their 1-1 tie with Air Force with a convincing win over Bentley. Eric Polkamp with a hat trick from the blue line in that one. What else stood out to you around the NCHC?
Yeah, Denver lost to Zeev Buyam, who, by the way, got his first NHL goal over the weekend. And he produced so much offense from the back end, and you just can't replace a guy like that because he was so special. But they have another D-man who's going to score a lot this year, I think we found out. And it's Eric Polkamp, a great weekend for him. Those are the types of performances that will get you on the radar of the Spengler Cup committee, the people who are choosing that roster. They're trying to look for guys to fill out the roster. Maybe he's one of them. How does that not catch your attention? I thought that was a big standout. And the other, Simon Latkozy in Omaha, the goaltender, terrific. He's a guy that can steal games.
Yeah, 47 saves this one, I think.
Yeah, that's the hidden part. You see 6-2. You don't realize that he made 47 saves, and Minnesota State outshot Omaha 49-24 in that game. And that is a classic Simon Latkozy game. Of course, Minnesota State did a nice job coming back the next night and winning 4-1. But yeah,
it is so hard to sweep, isn't it? In college hockey,
it is. I think the other crazy part of that Saturday night game, Minnesota State wins 4-1. There were 4 game misconducts at 4 different times. Guys got each.
Did I see 86 PIMs total?
It was 86 penalty minutes. But Omaha's Spencer Sova was ejected 1:18 into the game. Minnesota State, Tristan Lemaire at 10:18 of the first period. Then you go into the third, Bryce Strand ejected at 10:27 of the third. And then Omaha had a player ejected like 4 minutes later. So you don't see that too often. But Anthony Victor and Steven Renault were busy on Saturday night in Omaha.
Guys, it's a little early in the year to be that ornery.
Yeah, no doubt. So, and that was a competitive game. The other thing that you probably won't surprise you when I mention all that, all 5 goals were on the power play. So, as you could imagine, there were a lot of power play opportunities. Minnesota State, 10 power play chances. The Mavs went 4 for 10 on the power play.
That's nice. Let's look ahead a little bit here. Now that we've gone around the country, this is a busier than normal regular season week for you. It's North Dakota, Minnesota week. What are you working on ahead of that matchup?
You know what? I always try to come up with some sort of unique angle and I was trying to think for like the last 3 weeks, what am I going to write that week? What am I going to write? And nothing was coming to mind. And I think something just popped into my mind last night. In the history of the rivalry, we always ask guys who played in the rivalry, what was it like? What are your memories? There are 6 guys in the history of both programs who were 4-year players, and during their 4 years, they never had a rivalry game scheduled at home. So I'm going to ask those guys, what was it like never getting to play in this at home? And I've talked to 2 of them so far. I've got more interviews lined up today, and it was very interesting to listen to them. And the more you listen to them, the more you feel these programs have to keep scheduling these games. These players want to play in it, and the fans want to see it. It's a great spectacle for college hockey. and we'll get to see it for the next 4 years. This is year one.
Yeah.
Yeah, year one.
I would think both business offices of schools also want to see it.
That's a very good point. That there's no question about that. These are guaranteed sellouts. Just fun weekends. So that's coming up here in Grand Forks this weekend. Next year, I believe it's October 23rd and 24th. North Dakota goes back to Minneapolis, and then there's the following year, Minnesota comes here. The year after that, North Dakota goes back to Minnesota. So we are going to get to see this for the next 4 years for sure, which is great news for college hockey. We all love good rivalry games. That'll be something to check out this weekend. Of course, I think everyone will have their eyes on that BU Michigan State series, especially because it's on ESPN2. So that's a great thing for the sport to have more TV games like that.
You also had a column on the rivalry too, so I urge everyone to check that out. That ran last night or this morning.
Yeah,
I read it.
Yeah, my big takeaway was that with the teams moving into different leagues, it's different. You know, they're not playing in these epic conference tournament games at the XL Energy Center anymore. Their meetings are coming in the first month when teams are still just kind of trying to figure out what they are. You know, instead of like in January when they're both hardened, all the fan bases know who they are, and this is going to be an epic series. It's kind of in the feeling out process. This weekend, because they didn't play last year, there were only 5 guys on North Dakota's roster and 6 guys on Minnesota's roster who have ever played in this rivalry. So there's not that same familiarity necessarily. That being said, I still don't think you can beat it. It is still producing these unbelievable moments. The fans love it. You know, it's been sold out. The average resale price on Ticketmaster is over $200 a ticket. Everyone wants to be in that atmosphere to experience it because it's so good. So while it's changed, it's still hard to beat North Dakota and Minnesota.
North Dakota's entire coaching staff also played in that rivalry. So,
I'll give you a little hint. One of the guys I'm talking to is General Manager Bryn Chiswick, who never got to. Wait. He played in the Philly game. He played in one. Yeah, so they all did get to play in it, but he's one of the guys who never got to play in it at home. And the one time they played at Mariucci in his career, he was scratched and left home as a freshman.
Okay.
So the only time was that NCAA tournament game. He never got to see a home game either place.
Interesting. Okay. So regardless, it's the type of series that if there are players that haven't experienced it or a lot of players who haven't experienced it, the coaches, the fan bases are not going to let them go unaware in the lead up.
Yeah. They'll learn pretty quick what it's all about. Rivalries make college sports great. I'm sure a lot of people listening, they know what rivalry they love when their team plays. And it's just a fun part of the college experience.
All right, we'll let you go. You've got to get off to practice and then media day right after that. So thanks for making time for us again. Enjoy the big rivalry week this weekend.
Will do. Thanks.
And I want to send a thank you to Kate and Chris at Forum Communications for all the work they do behind the scenes, making this podcast happen. And I want to thank you, the fans, as always, for tuning in again this week. Please enjoy the hockey.